Hi all, I have an idea to make my cat Tango a little sweater. I'm going to try using a double-ended Tunisian crochet hook and using two colors to make the sweater. Now Tango has very short hair and he gets cold easily, so I think he might actually enjoy wearing a sweater this winter. I'm using Mary Maxim's Ultra Mellow Spun DK in a pale green, it's this one, and a yellow, which is this one. I tried pulling from the center. Neither one of these donuts pull from the center, so I'm going to have to use a yarn bowl, which I don't normally like to use. I usually like to pull from the center, so... As having cats, it tends to be a little difficult to, when you have balls moving around. They get very excited and get involved. This is a 5.5 millimeter hook. The band recommends a 4 millimeter, and it's a knitting needle, so... I don't even think they considered it, but usually it's the same. So I need to do the neck circumference at 11 inches. So this is going to be 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you don't skip that first back bar, you go right into the first back bar. Okay, so you just go through this first one by itself, and then you go through 2. So then we go back into the knit stitch. And the two bars at the end. Just 1. And then pull through 2. Okay, and you do this until you get the circumference of your cat's neck, which for me is 11 inches. So I'll meet you back. Okay, so I wanted to let you know that you can do the neck band up to like an inch, and then you can stretch it because this is very stretchy. See how stretchy that is? So go ahead and so after I relax it, it's 10 inches. And then I can stretch it out to 11. Let's see if I can put it down here. That's how long it is now at 10 inches. Right there. And that's 11. So that's the neck band done. Okay, and that's what the, you see that? It's got really nice ribbing. So that's going to look nice on the outside. Let me do it like this. And pull it through. There. All right. And this right here, this little tail, that's what you use to weave these ends in. All right, here we go. Starting to add our cast on. I love this yarn. I've bought a lot of it I think it's going into a discontinued state, because it seems like it goes like down to nothing on the Mary Maxim website, and then they get like a replenish, and then all the colors are back. Right now there's only 2 shades of yellow, and that's it. So, and it's been $1.99 pretty much all last year. It's been $1.99. It's been on sale. I don't know if they're trying to discontinue it or what, but then they had a refresh at the end of the summer. A bunch of colors came back, so I don't know what's going on with this brand of yarn. When you are watching it, just go to Mary Maxim and then look for the Ultra Mellaspun. It's just 100% acrylic, but it's a real soft acrylic, and I feel like this will be nice for a cat to wear. Maybe easy to wash. So watch what I'm doing here. I just folded the yarn over. I'm just going through that first cast on loop. Pull that tight. The first one is just 1. You pull through 1, that's it. You see that? This first one, you just pull through 1, and then you're done. That's the first pull through 1, and you're not going to do that anymore. Then from now on, it's going to be pull through 2. So you pull through the loop that you just put on your hook, and then you add that next cast on 2. So I'm not going to do the extended reverse pass. I'm going to try to crochet a little loosely. I'm going to do the knit stitch. Alright, so let's just stop right here. Go ahead and leave 3 loops on your hook plus the 1 from the return pass. And now when we're going to turn, my instinct is always to turn like a book. But with this, all this, yarn management going on, try to turn so that the yarn you're working with is going to be on top of, you see how this one's over the green? Try not to do it where the working yarn, whichever one, return pass or cast on, just make sure that your yarn is on top, the one that you're working with. I can push that down to the end of the hook, and let's cast on some more. So we're still in that first cast on row. We just had to stop and do the return pass because we ran out of space on our hook, and it was completely at the end of our limits here. Okay, so here's the first stitch. I'm going to throw this tail inside the ring to the back. Now the first stitch you go in, this is going to be our first knit stitch, and you pull up. You go in between those two, the front and the back, and you pull up. You got to really pull that stitch apart, and you see it right here where my fingernail's coming through. That's your stitch. So when you're pushing it through, you're also pushing that back yarn with your finger. You're pushing on it with this to get it to fit into that space where you want it to go. Now see, we're starting to get, there's not a lot of room here to keep adding on stitches. So we're going to have to go back. And what that means is I'm just going to turn it. So now the live yarn is, and you give yourself a little slack on the the yarn you were working with before. Go ahead and tighten it up and yarn over and pull through 2. Remember, you're just going to yarn over and pull through 2 forever for the rest of this project. All right, so this is completing the rows. This is my first cast on row that I'm completing. And when I get to here, that's where we're starting our first knit row. And we are here. This is the first knit row, right there. Okay, so now we can turn it around, give yourself a little slack from the old yarn so that it kind of lays over to the side and underneath your work. And then give yourself some new yarn so you can have very good tension. I like Tunisian because it forces me to think about tension a lot more than I do with my normal crochet. I'm a very tight crocheter. Oops. So I need to be really mindful and let my tension be loose with Tunisian crochet. Now you hardly even see that green. See that? You can barely see it. That's one of the reasons why I think people like to do knit and purl when they're doing this type of stitch, is because the purl will show that green in the back. Purl stitches will show the other color, and you can kind of get fancy with stripes, which are nice. But I don't think my purl stitches are that good. They're wonky. Like I said, I have problems with tension. I'm still learning how to do this technique. And I've always had trouble with every stitch in Tunisian except for the knit stitch. That's the only stitch I feel really comfortable with. So now we're already at the end of the row. So let's go ahead and pull that to the side. Pull it to the end. We pull our hook through. And we get our return pass yarn ready. You don't have to do it in 2 different colors. You can do it in all one color. You just need to have 2 ends. Some people take a ball of yarn and they feed one end from the outside of the ball, and then they use the return pass like from a center pull in the same ball. And that's one way to do it. You can use the same ball of yarn. You can use 2 balls of yarn. I think it's just easier to teach this technique. I'm going to stop here with these 3. Having 2 colors. It's not necessary though. Okay, so now we're going into the knit stitch again. I'm not doing anything fancy. There's no pattern. You don't have to remember how many stitches you did. None of that. This will teach you yarn management, tension management, the very basic stitches, and garment construction. Because we will have to start increasing. We will have to make a hole for the cat's legs. And when things start to get loose, I wrap my finger again. This right here can be a very loose tension. I can control it a little bit with pinching my fingers together, but this is where I really do a lot of tension control, is with this finger right here, because after I've wrapped it 3 times, it's not sliding as much, so I can pull it back and get the tension that I want. And I am a very tight crocheter, so I do that quite a bit. I will wrap my finger, or I'll let it go, but I'm always choking up here on this live yarn. And not everybody does it that way. Everybody has their own way of holding their yarn and tensioning. Okay, see that? That's the first row, and this green row, this band of green, is the return pass on the back side of the stitches. So keep doing this. So I will meet you back after a couple rows and see how his neck and shoulders are doing. Okay, so I have gone into 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5, row 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm going to start adding in a couple of extra stitches to start increasing. So how you do that is, I've found a really simple way to do it. You just do a stitch in the space, and then you do a stitch where it's supposed to be. Okay? And I'm going to do a stitch where it's supposed to be and do a stitch in the space. So I'm just adding a stitch after every 2 normal stitches. I just tried putting this on my kitty, and his shoulders are massive. So I need to start increasing to get around his shoulders. I'm not going to increase real fast. I'm just going to do, like I said, 1 extra stitch between every 2 normal stitch. So I guess that's increasing it by 1/3. Because every 3rd stitch is going to be an increase. So I will meet you back after this row. I just tried this on my kitty, and so yeah, this has got to expand. It's got to start expanding. Okay, so I did an increase row. I've come to the beginning of the row, and I'm just going to do a 1-to-1. You see how that flared out? That's 1/3 bigger than it was before, because every 3rd stitch I increased. Now I'm just going to do this I'm not going to increase, I'm just going to do a regular knit stitch row, 1-to-1. Because you don't want it to increase too quickly, because then it'll look like a weird ruffly Victorian collar. And one of the things you got to remember is when you're making your rows, And you've got this finished row here, and it looks real loose. See how much space it looks like it's got? But look at it after you've gone through. You know, it really doesn't give you a whole lot of space. So with Tunisian crochet, it's better to err on the side of being more loose than tight when it comes to your stitches. Okay, I will meet you back. Okay, so I've come to the end of the row here, and I did one row of increase, and then I did one row of just maintaining, and I measured it, and it's about half of the shoulder circumference, which is 17 inches, which is what I wanted. I wanted to do half of 17 roughly, and I just tried it on him, and it looks like it's going real good. Now I need to do 5 inches of a gap. So what I want to do is I'm going to do one more row around of just 1-to-1 stitches, no increases, and then when I get back here, I'm going to do something that will let me make a gap. It's just a chain stitch. Okay, so here's where I'm going to end when I come back around. So I'm going to continue to increase, and I'm sorry, I'm going to continue to cast on and finish this row, but when I get here, I'm going to completely cast off until I have one stitch on my hook, and or 2 stitches on my hook. I think I'm just going to have one because I have to make a 5-inch gap. Okay, so I'm just going to do one more row and then I'll be back. Okay, so here is the end of this row. I am going to start the gap, and it's got to be 5 inches, so I'm going to just chain stitch 5 inches. And you see I went all the way to the end, and I'm just using the return pass color. I don't know if this is going to work or not. This is kind of like putting in an afterthought heel. I think I might have to cut that yarn. Let me get myself a stitch marker. I'm going to be pushing this around. I'm going to make sure I just do 5 inches. That's all I want. So this is going to be like at one of his shoulders. It'll be, I guess, his right shoulder. And then this will be the gap. So it starts here. There's the 5 inches right there. So we'll put that like centered. This gap will be in the center. So now I can just line it up, and I probably got like 2 more stitches to go. Okay. Let's wash this yellow. Okay, this is the return pass color. The part that's mostly invisible, just kind of shows through a little bit. Doesn't matter if you twist it. That doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and let's just link it down here. Just do a slip stitch. You can take that stitch marker. Okay, that's holding it. So this is our 5-inch gap. That's where his legs will go through. Okay. So then we're going to take, it's like I don't have to do anything. I'm just going to just crochet loosely around it. Not too loose, but not too tight. Just go all the way to this other stitch marker. Okay, so I've come to the end and I have this stitch marker in the end of that loop, and I have it attached here where I want to go. So actually, let me put it through this. Okay, let's bring it up. I really want the green behind the yellow. So let me pull these two out. Get the green, the yellow, and the yellow. Because the return pass should be on one side and the increase pass should be on the other. You increase this way and then you follow up. So there you go. There's the leg hole right here. Just keep going around. I'm not going to increase. Looks like I need to actually go into that knit stitch. There we go. Okay. You see that? You just start knit stitching again. I didn't have to cut that yarn at all. All right, so I'm going to do the return pass, and then when we get around to here, I will meet you back. Okay, so we're here. I came around real quick. And the next stitch is right up here. We're just going to do the cast on from that overlaid chain. Okay, I will keep on going. You see that? I'll meet you back. Okay, so I'm going to go to the 5.5 just so that I have a little tighter tension than the 6 that I had for my Tunisian hook. And I'm going to do it this way. Okay. I'm still going to do Tunisian stitches. I'm just going to do it different. Okay. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go on that back bump. And pull up a stitch. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches on the hook. So that means I gotta pull this yarn way up and go through. Do you see that yellow stitch there and there? I'm basically doing the knit stitch, but I'm just going to slip stitch through that top stitch. And then I'm going to go into the next one right there and slip stitch again. And then you pull through 2 until you get to the end. Okay, and then you can go ahead, do a knit stitch, through each one of these stitches, and then pull that up and go through that as a knit stitch, and then you go through that, I mean as a slip stitch, and then you pull through 2. So this side looks like a knit stitch, this side looks like ribbing. You can make it as long as you want. Okay, so this side looks like knit stitch, this side looks like ribbing. So keep on doing that all the way around. Okay, so I've come around, did my little ribbing. I'm just gonna finish it up. Okay, so let me do my 2 chain stitches, pull it through, tighten it down. So I think I want to do this inside out. Yes. Okay, and let me tie it in a knot. Just go around that loop before you finish it and then pull it tight. That the wrong way. I don't care. Okay, because this is going to be stretching this way, you want to go up and down. I think the word is perpendicular. You want to go perpendicular to the stretch. So whatever your stretch is going to be, you go the opposite way when you're hiding your tails. Okay. So when it pulls like this, you're not going to see tails coming out. All right, I'll meet you back after I finish hiding the rest of these. Okay, so I'm going to do an edge of single crochet on this just because I want to. I feel like it's curling a little bit and I don't want it to curl. So I'll meet you back. I hope you enjoyed this. Just be aware that you don't want the sweater to be too long. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.